Today we got an iPhone. Who's the iPhone? Who's Cassidy? Well, I know Cassie, I just can't see her. Let's get this thing started. Oh, there we are. All right. What's up, man? There we go, Cassidy. All right. Let's get started. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions before we jump in? Any properties you want me to look at before we jump in? All right. So let me share my screen. Let's get started. Um, So, um, let's do what we normally do. Let me go to home page here. It says I logged out. I don't think I've logged out, but let me go to contacts. Let me pull up myself. All right, I guess it did log me out. So I'm gonna go back to contacts. I'm gonna pull myself up and looked at one of my saved searches. So I'm gonna type in Voltaire Lepe, and I have this search right here. And let's see what I've missed since last time I logged in. So let's click the new matches, open, uh, let me see, area. All right, so let's see if we see any deals. By the way, I've been away for the last month or so. Um, last time I was in the office, I think was the 22nd of September. So I'm not sure what's a good deal or not. Because when you leave for that much time, uh, it's like you're not, at least I feel I'm not in tune with the market. I don't know what's going on. You know, the first thing I see is a short sale here, a one bedroom short sale for 305. Um, Rolando, and what part of Rolando is this? Yeah, it doesn't, let me see if off of 70th. This looks like a decent part of town, 300,000. I don't know if it's a deal, but it seems inexpensive for somebody. We have something over here by Lincoln Park, Mountain View, 550 for a two bedroom, one bath house for 550. It seems cheap as far as price, but then you look at the price per square foot, 1,100 bucks, no way. It's a 472 square foot home. So um, this is the first time, by the way, I'm looking at properties since I've came back. So I'm trying to get a good feel of what's going on. And this seems like it's overpriced. You know, I mean, 550 doesn't sound high for a house in the hood, but when you look at the square footage, it's tiny. We'll see what happens there. We have a four bedroom, two bath, $1 million for 383 a square foot. And 383 sounds cheap. We're talking about Lemon Grove coming soon. Um, and it looks like a big house with some garages, two garages, but $1 million. That's tough. So um, there's a couple things to look at on this one. You know, it's right by the freeway, Lemon Grove. So the first thing you look at is price per square foot. Okay, that sounds good, right? But then you look at the price, $1 million in Lemon Grove is just too expensive. But then, you know, I read this and it says it's a 2,600 square foot home, four bedrooms, and it's sitting on over 2.2 acres. So that's got to be worth something, right? Um, Let me keep reading to see if there's anything else that pops out, stands out to me. Amenities, heated salt pool. So it has a pool. It's a big house. But the question is, you know, I know this street, if you ever go down Millard, it's a big hill. So I'm assuming it's a big hill. So just because it says 2.2 acres, I have to look at it a little bit further. I just can't discount it off bat, you know, which is what I want to do because it's $1 million in this area. It's just too expensive. But then, you know, it looks like this whole thing might be theirs. Let me look at a different angle. So this is the house, and the address is on MacArthur. So the address is here. So it's basically this house with 2 acres. And I'm assuming it's all this, but then this is like kind of in the canyon. I don't know if it's worth anything there. Let me pull this up. Now I'm going to go into a tax record. So that's usually the next step is I want to see the layout of the land. So I hit here, view larger map. And yeah, it's basically this entire triangle. And if I look at it in on a real map, let me face it the same way that I'm looking at it over here. So it's kind of like this. So let me see here. So it's all here, like from this street in Blue Ash all the way down, like kind of it cuts. So Blue Ash is over here. This is Blue Ash, so it cuts all this. So the next question is like, is this worth anything? 2.2 acres for $1 million? It looks like there's like some type of ravine waterway here. So then it might not be worth as much, but right here you could probably put a couple properties, a couple houses, but development right now, well, from the last time I looked at it a month ago, it's not the best thing to do. So I would say it's not a deal. It's just, yeah, you could put a couple houses here, but I don't know if it's worth it. And by the way, it's overbuilt, I think, for the area, 2,600 square feet. It's a big house. Um, hmm. All right, something on Pentecost, one bedroom for 350 doesn't sound like a deal. Townhome in City Heights for 800,000 doesn't sound like a deal for a townhome. Altadena, Talmadge, 1.35 million, 960 square feet. Doesn't sound like a deal. It's remodeled. Um, Seems decent for some living, but doesn't seem like a deal, let's say. Um, an attached property looks like a condo for 530 in off of El Cajon Boulevard, 1,100 square feet, and off right before college. Doesn't sound like a deal for a condo. Sounds maybe, yeah, it doesn't sound like a deal. Detached house, 19115 for 2.1 million. It's 2,100 square feet, so that's $1,000 a square foot. Doesn't sound like a deal. College area, that's a lot of money. Um, they're probably trying to do student housing or something. Manufactured home for 200K. We're not looking at that. Doesn't sound like a deal. And then this one says attached house on 45th. So this is like probably within that little gated community right there on 45th, I'm assuming. So it's probably attached right here, right in the middle, like a twin home for 575. Not that I know of. Doesn't sound like a deal. Okay. So that's one. Let me go into my 3 to 4 units. So there aren't too many 3 to 4 units, to my surprise. So 3 units for 1.2 million, $400,000 a door. It just doesn't. 400,000 a door in National City doesn't sound like a deal. Looking at the photos, it's a remodeled place. It might be good for somebody, right, to live in the 3 bedroom house, and they rent out each of the other 2 units. It says here that they're actually rented out for about $2,200 each. So 2,200 times two, that's $4,400 that they're receiving. And if you live in the 3 bedroom house, that might be a good deal for a VA buyer. It's been a while, but let me run some numbers real quick. Mortgage calculator. So I'm going on Zillow mortgage calculator. Someone tell me what the interest rate is, please. VA. Anybody know the interest rate?
I just got a quote for a VA buyer at 5.6.
5.6%. Thank you. 1.2 taxes, insurance, 3 units. I mean, I would say $2,500. Insurance is expensive right now. And since it's VA, we're taking out the PMI. So if someone buys it for 1.20 down, Their payment's 8 grand, and then minus 4,400 from the other two units. Um, Let me see, 8,000. If you guys can see my calculator, minus 4,400 from the other two units. That's a $3,600 payment. So you could own, okay, so this is for a VA buyer. A VA buyer could buy this place for this amount, live in the 3 bedroom, rent out the other two, and their mortgage payment would be cut down to 3,600 bucks. That's a great deal. If you look at, let me look at the board to see who's uh, leading the way. It looks like John's at 11 deals and Ryan's son is at 11 deals. So if you look at Ryan's son's deals, and by the way, both of them 11 deals. Ryan's son's at 10.4 million in volume. John's at 7.5 million in volume. So if you look at Ryan's deals, and this is what he's an expert at, he finds properties like this for his VA clients, and basically all his clients are VA, and he sells 3 and 4 unit properties all day long. And um, he finds stuff like this, and he tells them, "Hey, look, you're getting BAH, right? You're getting like housing assistance to live in. So instead of rent, why don't you just buy a place?" And basically, the way he would break it down, he would just look at this deal, and he would tell them, "Hey, you buy it for 1.2, you live in the 3 bedroom, you rent out the other ones for 4,400. They already rented out for 4,400, and then your ultimately your monthly payments 3,600 bucks, and then the BAH is probably more than that. They're probably getting like 4 grand or something. So they're living for free. So they're picking up property for free. Now, the other way that Ryan could potentially pitch it to them is saying, "Hey, um, live in the 2 bedroom. So now you're renting out the 3 bedroom for 30.95 plus the other 2 bedroom for 21.95. Now it's the VA buyers receiving 52.90 a month in rent, and um and their monthly payments 8 grand, right? So we're doing plus 8,000. So now the monthly payment is 2710 for the VA buyer. Zero down. This is what Ryan's really good at. And if you guys don't know Ryan, his goal is to help VA members grow wealth. Ryan, I think he owns 11 or 14 units. I forgot the amount now of his own. And he
14.
bought them 14 doors and he owned them. He bought them all VA, zero down, right? So for himself, because he was in the Navy, he just retired about a year and a half ago. So now his goal is to help other VA members build wealth through real estate. And that being his goal, gets him so far 11 closings for the year. Does that make sense? So our job as realtors should be helping other people grow their wealth. So if you can find properties like this, that's a remodeled property in National City, I think this is a bread and butter. So let me do the last scenario, right? 30.95 for the 3 bedroom plus 21.95 for one and 21.95 for the other. The payment is 74.85. I mean, sorry, the total income 74.85 a month. We just saw that the payment here is almost 8,000. So 500 bucks a month. So in the future, the last thing that Ryan would talk to them about is, "Hey, look it, you stay in this property for 3 to 5 years. Within 5 years, the rent should be above 8,000. And then your monthly payment is 8,000. Now you move out of this unit, of this triplex, it's paying for itself, and then you go buy another property, right? And then you just keep doing that over and over." So I think our goal as realtors is we should be looking to enrich others' lives. We should be able to help people grow their wealth. And this is how we do it. This is a perfect example. I like this property. And by the way, do you remember my first reaction on this property? I said, $400,000 a door. It's not a good deal. But the value is there. that make sense? It's not like you're stealing this property, but for the right financing, the right person, it's a good deal. So now let's look at it. Furthermore, it's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath detached home, 1,000 square foot ballpark, and it has a yard. And then laundry, all that stuff. And then the other two mirrored 2 bedroom, 1 bath, they're 711 square feet each. This is like really good square footage. So let's look at it another way. I'm gonna add the square footage up. 711 plus 711 plus 980 square feet. That's 2402. So if we do another analysis divided by the square foot total, so right under 500 bucks a square foot. So it's not, again, it's not a great deal on paper, but when you look at the financing part of it with VA, you're like, dude, like somebody buy this. Okay, so that's that. Let's look at some commercial stuff. Let's see what's available. This is 92116, 6 units. Off top, this sounds cheap because this is a good zip code. Felton is a good street, ballpark. I mean, and then if you look at the price per door, it's $183,000 a door. So I'm assuming all these are like studios or something. Um, yeah, here we go. Studios, 6 studios. Um, and then Felton is right. Let me see. The further north, the better. So this one's on Monroe. It's okay. Adams, if it was over here by Adams, it'd be a lot better, but it's right in between Adams and El Cajon Boulevard, which makes it okay. And it says investor special. I think for the price, I mean, it's a million, 1.1 million. That sounds pretty inexpensive. And then next door is for sale too. So these are all the photos. So basically 12 units right next to each other for 2.2 million. And this actually doesn't sound bad at all. It sounds pretty inexpensive. Um, so if you have any people that there's a couple ways to look at this. Number one is you either find someone with cash and just wants a long-term investment. I think this is a good deal. The other thing to look at is if you find someone who owns, let's say, a fourplex or something, and they want to trade. So now you're able to trade a fourplex that they've owned for 10 years and they have a lot of equity in it. They could trade it for 12 units. The only issue with this property that I see is they're all studios. And usually when you get a studio, there's a lot more turnover, which means the tenants, there's a lot more movement because they live in there for a year, they live in there for 2 years, they get a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or they get a dog or they get a baby, and all of a sudden they need a bigger place, right? The studio isn't enough. So now they have to go and get a one bedroom because now they're a couple or whatever. So that's the issue. And always being like a property manager, I always have to find new tenants. It could like wear on you as an owner. But at 183 a door, I think that's a good deal. Now, if we look at the rents, they're all over the place, but it looks like potentially you could get 1,600 bucks, which makes sense. You could get 1,600 bucks to live in like normal heights. That sounds reasonable. So if we do a quick analysis and we do 1,600 bucks times 12 units, let's say you hold on to it for 6 years and you raise the rents every year and you get them to 1,600 bucks, that's 19,200 um, per month. So does anyone know what the 1% rule is? Anybody? 1% rule? Have you ever heard of that? Okay. So 1% rule means that if your monthly rents could be close to 1% of the purchase price, it's a great deal. So 1% rules usually only exist like in Memphis, Indianapolis, you know, parts of Florida, like, people. only in places where people don't want to live, basically. So in San Diego, if long term, right? Because we're saying that the monthly like average market, like you could get 1,600 bucks. So 1,600 times 12 units, so you could get 19,200 some way, somehow, right? And you're buying it for 2.2 million. That's almost 1%. Does that make sense? Another way to look at it is let's look at it the GRM times 12 months. That's $230,000 a year of gross scheduled income. So let's figure out what the GRM is. So 230,400. Okay, so now 2.2 million divided by 230,400. Oops, 230,400. And that's a 9.5 GRM. So that's a great deal in San Diego. So I like this property. I like it for somebody who's either trading a couple of houses and they have equity. So like, what can you trade? Let's say you have a client that has two single family homes in San Diego and they've owned them for a long time and each of the houses has $500,000 in equity, then that's $1 million between both of those houses. So they trade both of those houses for 12 units. And then that's 50% down ballpark. And then they just take a loan for 1.2 million and they put $1 million down. So that's an example. But that's the goal. That's how you help people grow their wealth is you start uh, helping them trade properties, smaller properties for bigger properties. And I like this property right here. You just have to go in there and figure out, you know, why the rents are low and etc. So that takes time and effort, obviously, to get those up. Let me see. There was a third property on here. It's not popping up. It's not populating. Okay. Um, so those are the ones that pop up on my radar. Do you guys have any properties that you guys want me to look at?
You have 8 minutes, Walter.
Cool. Yeah, today I'm cutting a little bit short because I got a meeting, so we're stopping at 12:30. Does anyone have any properties?
I have one if you want to check it out.
Yeah, let's look at it.
It is. So, 1 second. The address is 5436 4 Imperial Avenue.
5436-4 Imperial Avenue. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna pull real quick is the history on this place. And it looks like it's been listed. It started off in July, listed for 1.375. They dropped it at 1.25, didn't sell, it expired. And then they activated again at 1.225, canceled it, and then right now they're back up to 1.25 million. All right, cool. So now I got a little history on it. What's your question about this one?
No questions. It was just if it would be good for like Jesse, who's a VA, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a fourplex. The rents aren't. I didn't like the location, but I did feel like it was updated and rents since two of them. Well, I can't remember if this one was two vacants because I was reviewing some yesterday. So I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember if it was this one that had two vacancies and I can start, or it was a different one.
Cool. All right, let's run the numbers real quick. So Jesse's a VA buyer, right? And so it says fourplex, shared laundry, plenty of parking. Unit 3 was recently renovated with a new kitchen and bathroom. And then so we see 2 3 bedrooms for 20. Oh, the rents seem pretty good, right? 28,
Yeah,
29. So let me add up these rents real quick. And again, this is a VA buyer, right? So the
which
first,
I ran the stuff, but I don't know if you want to run the
yeah.
numbers to show them.
So let's say he lives in I'm looking at these rents right here, and let's pretend that he'll live in the cheapest one, which is 1,800 bucks a month, right?
No,
Because
yeah,
if you have the choice as a VA buyer, you could choose any of these tenants to move. I would just ask the cheapest tenant to leave. So now I'm left with 3 more rents, which is 2850 plus 2950 plus 1950. So that's 7750 a month of rent. Now, purchase price is 1.25 million. Well, all I'm going to do is go in here and change this number because we already have this calculator up from earlier. And I'm going to change that number. I'm going to do what John said, 5.6% interest rate. And then I'm going to do maybe $3,000 a month rent because it's a higher, it has more units, sorry. And then cool. So now I'm getting about 8,600, almost 8,700 bucks. PMI. Yeah, I'm getting 8,700 bucks a month in rent. So now if he moves into that $1,800 a month unit, Claudia, then he's coming out of pocket $1,000 a month. So his mortgage payment to live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment is $1,000 a month. That's cheap, right? Now let's pretend, Claudia, that he lives in here for, I don't know, 12 months or 24 months or 36 months or 10 years, doesn't matter, right? And let's say he wants to just rent out that 2-bedroom apartment for 1950, which is what the other one was renting for. Then at that point, he's receiving 9,700 bucks a month and his payment is only 8,700. So he's making $1,000 where he's up 1,000, right? Obviously after maintenance and stuff, it breaks even. But I think this is a good deal for a VA buyer because remember the rule when you buy like a property, VA and all that, you just have to live in it 12 months and then you could move out, rent it out, right? So your intention is like to move into the property. So now you're putting this buyer in a position, Claudia, where he has to live in there for 1 year, zero down, buy 0 down, live in it for 1 year, and then move out, and then it breaks even. Now he owns a property forever with 0 down. I think that's a great deal. I like it. Now,
I sent it to Jesse, but he didn't reply.
okay. Did you run out the numbers and tell him, like
Yeah,
kind of like the way I did it?
sent it ChatGPT style.
Did you tell him he could own it for free, and it
But
pays for itself after a
I
year?
didn't say no, not free.
Yeah.
I didn't use that word.
I mean, that's the way I look at it, right? Because if you go in there, you negotiate the purchase price and closing costs, and he goes in with 0 down out of pocket, and then a year later he moves out and it's paying for itself, that's a free property. And I think, one thing I'll leave you guys with is people are scared in this market. Everyone's afraid, and it's been like that. Like my entire career, people are afraid to buy real estate because they're like, oh, I don't know if it's going to work out. But if you communicate with them in a way where they understand it and they go, okay, well, I just have to live here for 1 year and then I can rent out afterwards and it'll pay for itself. It's like, yeah. So I think we just have to communicate that with them because we know as professionals, and like Ryan's son's an expert at this, right? Like he just gets his VA people and he says, hey, I'm going to set you up. Look at me. I own 14 doors. I think we have to kind of pitch it to them that way. I think VA financing right now, 5.6%. It's a steal, you know. Cool. So that's it for today. Vanessa, is there any announcements?
I
Anything coming up?
threw in the chat. We have coffee and cash. Do you know what the topic is for coffee and cash?
Yeah, it's gonna be I'm gonna go over a bunch of different money rules that we gotta live by in order to increase your wealth.
Money rules. So it'll be
Mhm.
money rules. That's on the 12th of November at 8 a.m. The coffee shop did start opening up at 7 a.m. So if you guys can arrive early, get your coffee, get a good seat, all that good stuff, that would be great. You're welcome to invite anyone, your clients, whoever. And then we have moved the monthly mandatory meeting that we have every month from November 5th to November 12th. And that's going to be a 2-hour session that we're going to have where we're going to cover the market. And we're also going to get into 2026 business planning. All those forms that we've worked off of in the past, we're going to work on them and prep them for 2026. That one, I am asking everyone to RSVP. I put the link in the chat, and I'll be sending some emails with it. That way, we have your space secured, and then I can open up the space to outside agents. So if you guys can RSVP ASAP, obviously the space is not that big here.
Cool. All right.
That's it.
Thank you.
Also, Good Agent Life will most likely be moved or canceled. Right now it's for the 15th, but Voltaire won't be here, so you guys will be receiving an email about that. So just a heads up.
Cool.
It's going to take Voltaire a good month to adapt back to his calendar, guys. Excuse him.
All right. We'll see each other.
Bye, guys. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.